Producer.
Vlog on a blog. Tomorrow's news today. Get to the truth. Listen, learn, live. Visit us at yahowah.com.
Hey, I like it a lot better with the listen, learn, live. That's
Learn,
good,
live.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Uh-huh,
Right?
yeah.
That is good stuff.
Yeah, I love our new intro. Yeah, all smiles on that one. Really well done. Thank you, Leah, and for even the redo of the redo. It's a very fine introduction for the vlog on the blog. And we've got Rich here in the circle today. Wow. Okay, Rich.
If he's going to be on the intro, he's got to be on the show.
Yep. You may want to turn on that light there if it isn't. I don't think it's on there, Rich.
No, it's not. It's fine.
No, you have, because you've got light behind you, so which means you have to have light in front of you as well. But we're glad to have you part of this program. All right, speak who is not part of the program anymore. That is the deceased Lindsey Graham. And I know the little Christians, they want you to say all nice things when somebody dies. But this was a scumbag. This man has the lives of over 2 million people that have been lost to his lies and belligerence. He is the primary provocateur of the Ukrainian proxy war against Russia. He set it up. He schemed against Russia. He went in and rallied the Ukrainians multiple times to overthrow the popularly elected government of Ukraine, celebrated that, and then went with John McCain into Ukraine long before the war began to tell the Ukrainians, and these were Nazi units, tell them that America would arm them, that their war would be America's war, and that they were going to go and kill some Ruskies. And he is just slime. I mean, there are the deaths of 2 million people stain that man's soul, and he became the devil's primary advocate.
Oh, he's in Sheol's waiting room along with
He's sitting there in Sheol's waiting room. That is for darn sure. We can play a few of these. I mean, he couldn't even lie well. When he was telling the truth, he wouldn't even believe his own words. Occasionally he would tell the truth, but not often.
I want to talk to the Trump supporters for a minute. I don't know who you are, and I don't know why you like this guy. He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. He doesn't represent my party. He doesn't represent the values that the men and women who wear the uniform are fighting for. I think he's a kook. I think he's crazy. I think he's unfit for office. And I'm a Republican, and he's not. He's not a conservative Republican. He's an opportunist. He's not fit to be president of the United States. He's disparaged women. He has an 80% disapproval rating among Hispanics. At the end of the day, he would be the most flawed nominee in the history of the Republican Party. He accuses most illegal immigrants of being rapists and drug dealers. He plays into the idea that maybe Obama is a Muslim. 70% of us in South Carolina believe that Donald Trump is not a conservative Republican. We think that he's unfit for office, that he would be a terrible commander-in-chief. He doesn't have the temperament or judgment. I think Donald Trump is a political car wreck, and people slow down and look at the wreck, but they eventually move on. I want to talk to
And then you went and became his number one boot-licking kiss-ass.
Yeah.
Wow, to go from that to a boot-licking kiss-ass.
Politics, you can't trust any of them.
What in the hell were you thinking when you elected this POS? I mean, really? I mean, the world is better off with him gone. That is for darn sure. But think of the damage that he did. He was a warmonger of worse than anyone, maybe in the history of the Senate. He is the one that fanned the flames of the Ukraine war. He's the one that encouraged Trump to go in and kidnap the president of Venezuela and go and blow up boats leaving Venezuela in the area. I mean, this is a real thug, a murderous, immoral thug. What a shame.
He was behind Iran 100%. I mean, under the guise of saving Israel, it was ridiculous. Anything he could make a buck off of.
Yeah, I mean, Israel, you got to be careful as to who you admire as your friends. And if this is you're the best you can do, then you just walked up and embraced the devil. Listen, I don't speak of Lindsey Graham from the political left. I am far too conservative to be a Republican. I disown him from the human race because of his madness, because of his demonic attitude, his absolute disdain for life and for destroying countries. It became the devil's primary advocate, and that's not going to bode well for his soul as it goes forward. He has a confirmed reservation, I can assure you, in a very dark place. Oh, and here he is. First of all, when back in the days that I spent a lot of time on X, and now I only go on X to feed this show, don't respond or anything on X anymore. But this guy, and I don't know if it's a guy or a girl. I understand he or she or it lives in, I think it's India. But what a disaster. Pretending to advocate on behalf of Israel, he, she, it, says everything that is destructive of Israel. And the moment you promote Netanyahu and Lindsey Graham, you just might as well take a stake and drive it right into the heart of Israel. Everything that is wrong in the perceptions of Israel around the world can be attributed to Netanyahu and Lindsey Graham. They have committed murder of the Jewish state. So, I would just say, if you think that Lindsey Graham was your friend Israel, you think that Netanyahu is representing the best interests of Israel, I can tell you that you have no judgment.
Oh, and Rahab on top of that, Donald Trump is going to be the ultimate betrayer of, they're three peas in a pod.
He already is. He's Satan incarnate. The prophets have spoken. And a guy like Netanyahu ought to know that. It was his job to know what the prophets have said about him and his time, and he is ignorant of them and continues to destroy Israel. That's a tragic shame. So I'm sure that Fox is celebrating the guy that they interviewed more than any other. They just love to fan the flames of hate and war with Lindsey Graham. I mean, every time I heard that man speak, I wanted to barf. But every time I hear anything that's on Fox News, I want to barf as well. That is the most absurd propagandist channel ever conceived. And what a waste of breath. Be glad when Fox News is gone.
Yeah, I had saw some clips of Trump talking about, he had just I think we have it on here, just talked about, had just spoken with Lindsey Graham, or whatever. Mm-hmm. He was, the whole push was to try to roll Lindsey Graham's death, spin Lindsey Graham's death into a Save America Act push. Yeah,
that's exactly it. That's how scummy Trump is. So at least we're telling you the truth, that this man was a disaster for America and the world and for Israel. And no, Trump is going to say, I was the last guy to talk to him. And his dying wish is that we pass the Save America Act. Now, as a tribute to our fallen hero, you need to pass the Save America Act.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to play. Predictable as always. Yeah, so this is the, I didn't know that Charlie Kirk still had a build it close. But I guess this is from 11/27/16. But you really have to be devoted to Charlie Kirk to pull out something from 10 years ago. But here's Charlie Kirk said, you can tell a lot about a person about how they react when somebody dies. Yeah. If they're informed, if they're rational, they will tell you if that was a public figure, whether their life mattered or didn't, whether they were on the side of right or wrong, whether they advanced life or death. And I'm here to tell you, Lindsey Graham was wrong. He was on the wrong side of everything, and he advanced death. So you can tell a lot about whether a person is informed, rational, and moral, depending on what they say when a public figure dies.
Yeah, it's sad that people cannot come out and use that time wisely to come out against what these people were completely about. They try to just, everything's in the past now, they're gone, so that doesn't. No, I mean, Lindsey Graham is responsible for over 4 million deaths between Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's that many now in Ukraine, but certainly 2 million in the Ukraine-Russia war, and thousands more in the Iranian war. But the Iranian war is not over, and by the time it's over, 2 out of every 3 Jews are going to be dead, and so he will have instigated that, not alone, but with others. He will have instigated it. So it's important that we hold people accountable. That would be like saying, oh, it's such a shame that Hitler and Stalin and Mao died. Right. I mean, we ought not ever besmirch their reputation with the realization that 200 million people died because of them. Let's not, the dead is dead. Let the bygones be bygones. What an idiotic thing to say. Hey, Charlie Kirk was wrong on everything. Mm. He and Lindsey Graham have a lot in common. Yeah, so I would ask here, because this person is, Franklin Graham, of course. Yeah, Franklin Graham, Mr. Babel himself, never found any opportunity to mix religion and politics that he wouldn't engage in. And that is the embodiment of what it is to be accused of Babel from God's point of view, commingling truth and lies. In Islam, you have to die for Allah. The God I worship died for me. So what's worse? A God who dies or a God who wants you to die? What, I mean, really? A God who dies is completely and utterly worthless. A God who wants you to die is completely and utterly fake. So yeah, which one is worse?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Christianity
why would
has
you worship
killed
a dead God? That's another thing there, Franklin. Why would you worship a dead God? Oh, but my God, he was resurrected, bodily resurrected. Oh, yeah, that's saying that the Egyptians weren't wrong after all. Bodies can be resurrected. Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Good luck with that. But by the way, should miracle have happened that a Roman execution ended in returning to life, and we're going to completely ignore that it was Passover because the Passover lamb stays diddly-eyed dead. In fact, the body of the Passover lamb is incinerated, so you could never have a bodily resurrection if it was the Passover lamb. And if he's not the Passover lamb, then he was a worthless piece of SOS. But just pretend for a moment there, big guy, why isn't there a single account anywhere in the world about said resurrection? That would be, the Romans were really good at execution. For the Romans to botch an execution where the execution victim came back to life would be such a big damn story that it would be told far and wide. And guess what? Not a peep. Not from anybody. Not nowhere, not know how. Didn't happen.
And second only to Rome's ability to kill was their love of writing everything down. I mean, we know what Roman soldiers ate every day. We know how much elite, they wrote everything down.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. The whole thing is just it's a counterfeit. It's what it is. There really was a crucifixion on Passover. And it did take place on Passover because the crucifixion victim was the Passover lamb. But Christianity, all they do is spit in God's face because they erased his firstborn from that role and assigned a myth to it. There's nothing that God hates more, Franklin Graham, than your religion.
Yeah, and the amount of people that Christianity has killed, it's second to Islam when you throw in the Third Reich.
No, I think you've got to give Marxists because the Third Reich. While the Third Reich prevailed in anti-Semitism because of Christianity, Hitler wasn't a Christian. Mein Kampf creates the people's religion of which Adolf Hitler was the savior. He was God incarnate of the people's religion. And so he created his own religion. And he most certainly used Christianity to prevail. His single most important negotiation, according to his own records, was that with Pope Pius XII, when he cut the deal with Pope Pius XII prior to becoming chancellor, that the Roman Catholic Church would support Hitler's rise politically if Hitler agreed to support the supremacy of the Roman Catholic Church religiously. And so it was the Pope Pius played the same game that was played throughout medieval Europe, where if the king agrees to say that only the Christian church is the single accepted religion, then the religion will acknowledge that the king is from God and must be unchallenged. And so it's this church and state concept of one embraces the other, and you have this circular loop. That is precisely what Hitler and the Pope achieved. They went back in time to the church and state supporting one another and both acknowledging that they were alone representing their God. So I thank you, Franklin, for reminding us of the hideousy of your religion. Yeah, boy, they are really out in great numbers on X. And what's so interesting is why does an atheist need validation? Why must they go on X to taunt people? If you're going to be an atheist, that's fine with me. I don't really care. But why is it you're trying to sell atheism, and why are you trying to taunt believers? What's the purpose of that? Do you have an organization of atheists you're trying to receive funding for? Are you running for Pope of Atheists Anonymous? I mean, what is it what are you trying to do here, and why must you constantly expose your ignorance? So this person is setting up this hypothetical where God is like oxygen. Well, no, God has never said he's like oxygen. Never once. I'm pretty well acquainted with the Torah and prophets. And, I can tell you two things. One is that oxygen is never mentioned. And the only thing that God really compares himself to would be or, which is the Hebrew word for light. So God is like oxygen. You can't see him, but you can't live without him. So this is his hypothetical, and he's establishing a false pretense, which means it doesn't matter what he says that follows. It doesn't have any merit. And so here it is. So this is a guy who's saying that he is frozen oxygen, and therefore he can see the oxygen because his frozen oxygen has a a blue cast. I'm not sure it actually has a blue cast. I think it's only in certain light that you would see it reflected at that way, because it is a clear gas. But nevertheless, he says, there's my picture of oxygen. Now show me your picture of God. You know, it just boggles the mind that the religious and the atheist aren't able to recognize that a being that created the at least four-dimensional, and it's likely six-dimensional universe that we witness can't be 4 to 6 dimensions. It's not possible. You know, it's and as a 7-dimensional being, it isn't possible for that creator to enter our realm of 3D to be photographed. Not possible. Impossible. A 7-dimensional being cannot enter 3 dimensions. Not any way, not any shape, not anyhow. So, sorry, pal, but you're never going to get your photograph because you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, this atheistic push that you see on X is so much like the flat earthers. I mean, it is just the same. Why? It is complete nonsense.
Yes,
from that perspective, because
they all come up with a hypothetical to taunt the religious, assuming that God is the product of religion, but the gods of religion are no more God than is a rattlesnake. No, it's your premise is false. And so where you think you're so smart, you're really being very, very dumb.
And it takes about 3 minutes of investigation because you've laid out, especially in Introduction to God, the science behind Towrah. I mean, took home, the Big Bang was coined. I mean, the lights, everything. It's science.
Even the timing.
Towrah proves the science.
We've now proven that time was stretched into the 12th power at the Big Bang, which is Yahowah's term. And that means that 14 billion years is 6 24-hour days from that perspective. So it's the prophetic proof of Yahowah's existence in the Torah and prophets is not just overwhelming, it's undeniable. But to know it, you have to be exposed to it. You have to be willing to invest the time to read what he had to say. And if you don't, then you're absolutely as ignorant as the religious you are trying to condemn. These are two fools in a fight over a butterfly.
Yeah. It's the old adage, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And I always say, well, if you read the Torah, it's the chicken, clearly, right? I mean, so it's an answer, but, it's one of those life unsolvable questions. No, read the Torah, it's a chicken,
Okay. This is true. Abraham Lincoln, just before he was assassinated, arranged to pay reparations through what's called the Freedmen's Bureau in 1865. Now, it's a shame that 600,000 Americans had to die, and he didn't do it in 1861. But nevertheless, he did do it, and all black men received 40 acres of land and a mule, plus food, clothing, and farm tools over a 7-year period ending in 1872. Now, the also thing that's interesting is that back in the day, Lincoln was a Republican, and it was the Democrats that ended the program of providing reparations. But reparations have been paid. It's just that wouldn't it have been so much better if they had made this arrangement 4 years earlier? And even in the South, listen, slavery has existed for as long as human empires have existed. They, whether it was the Aztecs or the Incas, the Mayas in this hemisphere, or it was the Carthaginians, the Romans, the Spartans, the Greeks. We think of Greeks as a democracy, right? It was an oligarchy, and it was only in Athens, not in the rest of Greece. But in Athens, which was a place where this kind of oligarchy existed for a while, 95% of the people who lived in Athens were slaves. So slavery is a tragic form of human existence. Is why God is so disgusted with men, as to rob them of their freedom. And this idea that it is an American invention and that somehow in America they deserve reparations, which they've already received, and then 1,000 times over in affirmative action programs and entitlements. But you just need to know that this has been part of human history. And even in the case of the blacks that were enslaved in the Americas, every single one of them was enslaved by a fellow black and then marketed by Muslims and then transported here by ruthless business people associated with France and the Dutch and the UK and the like, in Spain. So you need to know your history, and people just don't. That's why the AOCs of the world are so incredibly dangerous. People don't know. And because they don't know, their vote is not only unproductive, it's counterproductive.
Yeah. Slavery went two directions. It went to the west, from the north coast of Africa, right, under the Muslims. The slaves that went to the west, to the Americas, the islands, whatever, they survived. The ones that went to the east, because there was slavery all over the east.
Huge.
They were castrated, and most of them didn't survive it. Mm-hmm.
That is correct. Yeah, that was correct. Yeah, the slaves that were sold by the Muslims that went west survived. The slaves that were brought into the Islamic lands, they all died out. That is correct. Islam was the provocateur of slavery, and still has been, because in Islam, the slave market was a huge part of their religion's initiation. Without slavery, it wouldn't have existed.
Oh, it still is today. You look at what builds Saudi Arabia, what builds Dubai, what builds, the UAE. It's 100%. Yeah.
Well, there are 55 slaves in the world, million slaves in the world today, 55 million. Of them, over 50 million of them are controlled by Muslims, and it's women.
Wow.
They're sex slaves.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what Trump posted. I lost to Trump, I lost to Trump, I lost to the guy in the middle. He didn't lose to Trump. So Trump can pound his chest and say, I beat two women. Two women ran for president. I was lucky enough to run against two women, two incredibly unpopular women. And yep, I mean, beating Hillary Clinton. I mean, she was such a disgust. Yeah, she's still alive, but oh my God, what a disgusting nitwit that one is. Even the Secret Service that had to protect her hated her guts. Even Bill Clinton, who was married to her, hated her guts. White House staff hated her guts. She was a terrible person. My wife got to know her reasonably well because she was running an NGO in Haiti at the time, and Hillary came in right after the earthquake and wanted a photo op. And my wife says, no, don't do that, because whoever you choose for that photo op is going to become the most effective beggar for the community, and they will cut off an arm and a leg to make him a more effective beggar. You will leave a child maimed if that is what you want to do. Do not do that. She went ahead and did it anyway. And the kid that she chose was mutilated in that way. And then, rather than being sorry for what she had done, she doubled down and asked for the vehicles of the NGO that was catering to Haitian women. And she used their vehicles to go spend 3 days with a voodoo doctor. And this is scum. Then they had, on the way out of town, they had this gala, and my wife was invited to the gala. She showed up, and she walked over to Hillary and told her exactly what she thought of her. She was escorted out, of course, and put on the watch list, but she told Hillary exactly what she thought of her. So that's the scum that you lost to on the left. And on the right, you know, you had you beat Cackles because Biden had to withdraw because he was comatose. So you beat a comatose man in a debate, but Cackles, you know, I don't think she has 3 active brain cells she can rub together, and and you lost in the debate to her. That's why you didn't have another one. So, yeah, Donald, just go and put your head down the toilet, push flush. Join Lindsey, please, in a hurry.
Yeah, that can't happen soon enough. We know it won't, but you know, it would be
7
nice.
years he's got still. This is where he said that Donald Trump is a jackass and shouldn't be commander in chief. Now, what I want to play this, and I want people to listen to the tone of his voice and look at his eyes. He's petrified.
He's a jackass.
Really?
That he's bringing his name down and he's not helping the process, and he shouldn't be commander in chief. He's a jackass.
That's those are the eyes of a man that's looking around the corner and saying, you know, that jackass happens to be demonic, and you know, you cross this jackass and you really get raked over the coals. And of course, immediately thereafter, Donald Trump stood up in front of people on live television and read Lindsey Graham's cell phone number so that his MAGA morons would threaten Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, he didn't have his brown shirts at that time. They were all wearing red hats. He didn't have ICE put together at that time, so he used what little political power he had.
Yeah. Here he is in front of tanks. Looking a little ragged there. I think this is may have been the last television interview that he did in front of these old relic tanks. And he is, what he's pleading for here is to punish Russia for the war he started. Now, there is no question that Lindsey Graham started this war. There is video of Lindsey Graham that I have played on Facebook and on X, and that is easily retrievable by anyone that gives a crap, that has Lindsey Graham with the late John McCain in Ukraine, long before the war started, telling them that, and these were militia units in the Ukraine, telling them that the war they fought against Russians would be America's war, that we'd be partners in this war, that America would supply whatever weapons were needed for them to go to war against Russians. And initially, the weapons that he provided weren't to attack Russians and Russia. They were to attack ethnic Russians in the Donbass region. The Ukrainians that were part of the American regime change government, armed Nazi goons using American weapons to go murder Ukrainians who were of Russian ethnicity, still speaking Russian, in the East. And that's why Russia got involved. They said, you're not going to go off as Ukrainians and go off and murder Russians. And this is the a-hole that arranged that. And then this a-hole has the audacity to want to sanction Russia for the war that he started and that has claimed 2 million lives.
Yeah.
It's just you can listen to this. It's reprehensible. Yeah, you start a war and then you blame somebody else. God, if you're going to start a war, at least man up to it and say, "Yeah, I started the damn war. It's on me." But no, he's such a skunk that he started the war and then went off and blamed the Russians.
We've reached agreement with the White House on a version of the Russian sanctions bill that they will support. It means it's going to become law. So when I get back to Washington, I'm going to go with Senator Blumenthal to the Republican and Democratic leader to see if we can find time to move this Russian sanctions package that would give tools to President Trump to help end this war. There's some things we can do on the technology front to build on the lethality of Ukraine to protect itself from ballistic missile attack. If we did that, combined with creating tools to punish those countries that prop up Putin, that make money off this war, then I think we've got the best chance since I've been
Oh my God!
in the last 5 years.
He lined his damn pockets with money that was skimmed from this war. He is the initiator of the war. He's the primary propagandist of this war, and he wants to go punish the Russians who are the victims of his damn war. Hey, it's just why I'm sorry, but this man was absolute evil. He is the personification of evil. It is all the reasons why America, its Republican Party, everything associated with Donald Trump, everything associated with the military-industrial complex is horrible, is horrendous, is appalling, is anti-God, and is put the world in a position where it is in a death spiral. This was the worst senator maybe ever.
Yeah, you look at what's coming down the pike for war in Ukraine, war in Iran, how it has destroyed America's economy. I mean,
yes,
he's responsible for that too. But
think of the damage he's done to the Russian economy at a time where we could be doing business with the Russians and Europe could be benefiting from the Russians. And instead of everybody getting along and prospering, is destroyed the world economically, while people die by the millions.
Yeah.
And blaming others for the war he started. And he knew it. And he knew it. Oh, so this is the Donald. He calls into this program. And he says, and she begins like everybody else. She wants to have, she got the president of the United States on the line, and she wants to begin with her long diatribe about her issue, which this case was the Strait of Hormuz. And so rather than let the president speak, she starts this long rambling accusation. Then the president says, I don't want to talk about that. I didn't call in. I called in to talk about Lindsey Graham. And then rather than talk about Lindsey Graham, he went and he talks about his war. He says, no, the Strait of Hormuz isn't closed. It's open. Of course, it is closed. And then goes on to talk about how he's won the war. And so he calls in to allegedly honor Lindsey Graham. She distracts him to talk about the war. He says, I'm not going to talk about the war. And then all he does is talk about the war. This is not a sane man.
No, the spin to the Do It for Lindsey, Save America Act is just, it's insane.
You can play a little bit of it just to show you how horrendous this is on both sides.
What makes it even stranger is that I got a call last night, sometime in the early evening, maybe in the sevens.
In the sevens?
And he called and he said, we're all set for the Save America Act. He was pushing the Save America Act like crazy. He got back, said he just landed from Ukraine. I said, that's a long trip to make. He said, he sounded a little tired, but perfect, but a little bit tired. Had a right to be. And he was a worker. He was really a worker, but he sounded great actually. But he actually said he was tired, but he wanted to pass the Save America Act. And I said, well, we're going to get it done, Lindsey.
Yeah, that's a different one with the where he finally went into his Lindsey Graham thing and had nothing to do with Lindsey Graham, had all to do with Trump wanting to pass what he calls the Save America Act, which is your vote will never count again act. Mm-hmm. That's not how the interview began. The interview began with her, just as I described it, her rambling question about the strait being closed, and Trump denying that it's closed, and then saying, I only want to talk about Lindsey Graham, which he didn't. He wanted to talk about the Save America Act. And then Trump going on and on and on about the war.
Yeah, it would be nice if they named the acts about what they actually did. The Patriot Act had nothing to do with patriotism. It's we're going to, safety. We're going to secure and take away your rights act, right?
Correct.
And you're okay. And why can't we just call this the Save Donald Trump Act? It's
there you go. Yeah, that would be too handy.
I guess I'm not very good at marketing, huh?
No, you wouldn't. That wouldn't work. So, in this particular case, so Eric Dougherty is a exceedingly popular liar, and he has Trumpitis bad. And so here he has says that now, all caps, President Trump just posted 59% approval rating, prices coming down along with the lowering of oil and gas. No, oil and gas are actually going up. And Trump does not have a 59% approval rating. He doesn't have a 50% approval rating. He doesn't have a 45% approval rating. He doesn't have a 40% approval rating. Now he has a disapproval rating that's north of 59%. But,
right.
You can't have a disapproval rating that's 60% and an approval rating that's 60%. The numbers just don't add up. So why must you lie? If you got a point to make, find some facts that support your point. Don't lie. I mean, everybody with half a brain knows that Trump has had the exact same approval rating for the last year and a half. It is the sum total of MAGA morons. MAGA morons are incapable of processing information rationally or morally, and therefore the same number of MAGA morons that supported him still support him. What Trump has lost is all non-MAGA independents that Elon Musk was able to buy with ads. In the last election, he's lost all of them. So all he has is the 38 to 39% of MAGA morons, and they're too moronic to ever move away from him.
This is a prime example of how Donald Trump confabulates. He doesn't understand that it's a disapproval rating. It's 59%. The number must be in my favor, right? I mean,
he forgot the dis. It's just three letters. It is an approval rating of sorts. Just because it's a disapproval rating doesn't take the approval away from the dis, or does it?
But
isn't disapproval and approval? Isn't approval a subset of disapproval?
It's still an approval rating, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And he's not arguing that legalistically. The language wise, the way we are, making fun of it. He's literally seeing it, and it doesn't even register with him. You know, I mean, it's the confabulation is I'm great. Everybody thinks I'm great. 59%. Obama never had numbers
actually,
like that.
it's
right?
very humble for him to say 59% because normally he says that he has a 95% approval rating. And he can't even understand why it would only be 95%. But normally he says he has a 95%. So this was his attempt to be humble.
Yeah,
it's like a scene out of Dumb and Dumber.
It is a scene out of Dumb and Dumber, except neither Dumb and Dumber were demonic. So you know, not quite fair to Dumb or Dumber.
Yeah. So you're saying there's a chance, Rich?
Exactly.
So you're saying there's a chance.
You're saying there's a chance.
I wouldn't sleep with you if you were the last man on earth. Anyway.
So you're saying there's a chance. Oh, so they have here. This is Lindsey Graham at his best. We can play a little bit of this because if this was Lindsey Graham at his best, then the boy had the demons rattling around in that brain long ago. Because this is quite a while ago. This is Kavanaugh's confirmation hearing, and you just see, man, he is tortured in this. He is one mean SOB in his defense.
If you wanted an FBI investigation, you could have come to us. What you want to do is destroy this guy's life, hold this seat open, and hope you win in 2020. You've said that, not me. You've got nothing to apologize for. When you see Sotomayor and Kagan, tell them that Lindsey said hello, because I voted for them. I would never do to them what you've done to this guy. This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics. And if you really wanted to know the truth, you sure as hell wouldn't have done what you've done to this guy. Are you a gang rapist?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, that's fine. All right, that's fine. Okay, let's go on. All right, well, that's enough.
Boy, y'all.
Yeah, the worst scam that I have seen since I have been in politics, no, that would be the one that you created with the Ukrainian proxy war against Russia, or your urging of Donald Trump to attack Iran not once, but twice. Those would be far worse. They're by far, I mean, not even close, or just your overall support for Satan incarnate. Any one of those would fall under major political scams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Lindsey's obviously okay with rape because I mean he supports Donald Trump. So I mean, yes. what's a little gang rape by a kid when he was 16,
but you know, I guess the difference is that the question was posed wasn't "Are you a rapist?" Because if he asked that, then he would be impugning Donald Trump, who is now a convicted rapist. So he said, "Are you a serial rapist?" Because
gang rape.
Donald Trump was a serial pedophile, but not a serial rapist. So that's the distinction. He's clever. He's a politician. Golden tongue.
The only way to save Israel is to have them
drop nuclear bombs. That is what he said. This whole speech here is that, you know, it was okay for America to drop nuclear bombs and kill, 200,000 civilians. And he says, yeah, that was okay. He didn't have a problem with America dropping nuclear bombs, killing a couple 100,000 civilians. And so since that was okay, and he was okay with America dropping nuclear bombs, then it's certainly no problem for Israel to drop nuclear bombs. And what he didn't recognize is the only reason America survived the dropping of 2 nuclear bombs is nobody else had a nuclear bomb at the time. And in this world, lots of people have nuclear bombs. And if Israel were to drop a nuclear bomb, guess what? Israel would be destroyed. But not smart enough to think that through. And the Israelis, of course, I love you. Anybody that would speak favorably of Israel. But you're not speaking favorably of Israel. If Israel listened to him and did as he was recommending, Israel would be obliterated. Decide the war by dropping the bomb.
And it decides nothing.
You can just play it. I mean, he was nuts.
We decided to end the war by bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki with nuclear weapons. That was the right decision. Give Israel the bombs they need to end the war they can't afford to lose, and work with them to minimize casualties. Well, can I say this? Why is it okay for America to drop 2 nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end their existential threat war? Why was it okay for us to do that? I thought it was okay. To Israel, do whatever you have to do to survive as a Jewish state.
But
We decided
the Japanese
to end the
attack
war.
on Pearl Harbor did not create an existential war for the United States. The United States was going to survive. The Japanese were not trying to invade America. They had no plans to invade America. They had no means to invade America. They made no attempt to invade America or to occupy America. It was not an existential war for America. And the intelligent move, the moral move, once you have a bomb of that consequence, is to deploy the bomb on military targets. Had they bombed the Japanese fleet with a bomb, it's an entirely different story than bombing 2 entirely civilian cities. And so America's choice of targets was grossly inappropriate, but this man had no morality. And there is no justification for Israel bombing Iran. Israel and America started that war, unlike the war that he is now using as his comparison. The Japanese started the Pacific War because of their surprise attack, if you want to call it that, on Pearl Harbor. Which was, by the way, a military target. They began the war by attacking a military target. We ended the war by firebombing Japanese cities and then dropping 2 nuclear bombs on Japanese cities. That is only moral because history is written by the victor. Otherwise, even McNamara and May, who led that whole crusade of firebombing German and then Japanese cities, knew they would be arrested and convicted of war crimes because what we did was a war crime. And now he wants Israel to end the war that it started not once, but twice with another war crime. No amount of mass murder that would satiate that evil soul.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
boy,
he even says
was all over the press.
Oh yeah, he even says bomb and they can avoid civilian targets to minimize civilian casualties. Said, are we not the ones that are bombing the little girls' schools? I mean, that's
well, last night we bombed the middle of Tehran. There is zero possibility that you can use a bomb in Iran to bomb military targets. Can't be done.
Right.
Can't be done. It's because the military in Iran is not like your headquarters in the Pentagon. They are all over the place. They don't have surface bases and high rises or something that says, bomb me. They meet underground and they're widely distributed. I mean, all you're going to do is use nuclear bombs to blow up a lot of desert. No. I mean, he's just an idiot. Well, he was an idiot. Never have to listen to him again. That's good. This woman got it. I mean, this woman got it. At least that's a positive. Lindsey Graham had the blood of thousands of innocent people on his hands. It's actually millions, but at least she understood. And very few men can be rightly accused of murdering millions. But he was one of them, and he was the number one advocate for Satan incarnate, who's Donald Trump. So this was an exceptional death. I mean, this is not an ordinary individual who died last night. He is exceptional on the list of evil. He is a 9.99999. Today, only Trump would be worse.
Yeah, when you can truly say good riddance. It's about
Mm-hmm.
damn time. I didn't even know who this was. It wasn't until I heard him speak that it's like,
Yeah.
oh wow! But I
No,
didn't
I
even
can see it.
recognize
I
him.
can see it in the eyes and the mouth
Okay.
and the nose and everything else. No, that is Benjamin Netanyahu, and this is vivid promoting him again. It's a 28-year-old Benjamin Netanyahu. I had to defend my country in 2 wars and many battles. No one wants peace more than Israel. No, Benjamin Netanyahu is a warmonger. He does not want peace. He cannot handle the idea of peace. He is full on warmonger. He's fighting wars every place that he can pick a fight, whether it was Iran or Lebanon or in Judea and Samaria or in Gaza. He wants to pick a fight in Syria. He wants to pick a fight with Turkey. He wants to pick a fight with the Egyptians. He's a warmonger, and Israel cannot sustain that because Israel is being now betrayed by the United States. The United States supplies almost all of Israel's weapons. And so Israel now is a checkmated country. It cannot even defend itself, and yet it's engaged in all manner of wars because of the failed strategy of Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, I love Israel. I would love to be able to protect Israel, but the fastest way to protect Israel is to get rid of Benjamin Netanyahu. So, Vivid, every time you make a post, you are further alienating, isolating, and demonizing Israel. But I'm sure you make a lot of money doing it because you're very popular.
I just had a thought about the licensing of the Patriot missiles, because the Patriot missiles are very much what's used in the Iron Dome or one of the Israeli defense systems, right? Aren't they?
No. The Iron Dome was a program that was economically financed by the United States. And the United States didn't finance the Iron Dome for Israel. They didn't make that decision for Israel. It's just that the United States was trying to develop defensive missile strategies and was spending gargantuan amounts of money and not delivering particularly effective results. And the Israelis came up with a proposal that at 10% of the money, they could deliver in a much shorter period of time a much more effective result with the Iron Dome. And so the United States funded it with the knowledge that that technology would be given to the U.S. Department of Defense. So the U.S. funded much of the development of the Iron Dome based upon Israeli ingenuity. The Patriot missile system is not an Israeli project, and I think they were developed overlapping one another. The licensing of the Patriot missile system to Ukraine is nothing but window dressing hogwash.
Yes, right.
It was licensed as opposed to giving or selling them Patriot missiles because we don't have any to sell. And we've gone through 2/3 of our inventory of Patriot missiles. They did not work in Ukraine. They did not work in Israel. They did not work in the bases around Iran. They just don't work very well. And they're exceedingly expensive, and the time to build them is enormous. It's years to replenish the stockpile. And the THAAD system is even more ridiculous and expensive and has even longer lead times, and fewer can be made each year. So the U.S. couldn't give more Patriot missiles to Ukraine because it doesn't have any to give. And so they gave the Ukrainians a license to build them. But for the Ukrainians to capitalize on that and actually build a Patriot missile, it would be a decade out. And this war will be over in 2 to 3 years, one way or the other. So, no.
Right.
Here's the guy that's claiming he gives credence to the hat on backwards is a bad sign. He wants to say that because a woman wants to use a platform, and it looks like a school board meeting or something like that. And she wants to have a prayer to Jesus. So she's having her prayer to Jesus at a school board meeting. And the people at the school board meeting are saying, oh, God, good God, shut up. This is a secular school, and we're having a discussion. Don't bring your goddamn prayer in the middle of this meeting. If you want to go pray, go and do it privately in your own home, not here. And so they start booing her. And so he wants to say, oh, the name of Jesus that frightens the demons. And you go, oh, God, man, how can you be that ever loving lost? Head on backwards is the first sign.
Yeah. It piles onto that. I forget what book it is. I'm not a big New Testament guy. But we cast out demons in your name and all this.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
that is the Sermon on the Mount, where it was actually delivered by Dove, the actual Messiah and Son of God, and he is telling Christians that there's not one of them that's going to be admitted to heaven. And he's and then the Christians are responding by saying, but we did mighty miracles in your name, and we cast out demons in your name, and how can you say that, Lord, that we can't enter heaven? He said, because I never knew you. And so it's rebuked. The Sermon on the Mount and the Olivet Discourse destroy Christianity. It's just astonishing that whoever wrote the book of Matthew in around 100 CE had the audacity to include them because they destroy Christianity. And this destroys the whole myth of miracles and, dinner and a show with the evangelicals and also of the casting out demons. No. Why would a demon be afraid of the name of a demon? I mean, Jesus Christ is demonic. Spit you out of my mouth. Okay. So here's another one. This is Eric Dougherty again. Justin, it has been announced that Donald J. Trump, it's been announced, has a higher average national approval rating today compared to Barack Hussein Obama and George W. Bush at this point in their terms. Not so close. Barack Obama's, you can go up there and click on mine. I actually did check this out. It is not true, of course. As of 2026, and this is July, so right now in 2026, Donald Trump's approval rating stands at historic lows. So no, it did not rise all of a sudden so that it's better than somebody. It's at historic lows, particularly for this term. And if you look at the primary poll, his approval rating is 39.8%. That's the number of MAGAs. I've stated that previously. And he has 58% disapprove. And if you look at the Economist poll, then his approval rating is 35%. Now, Joe Biden, his overall approval rating hovered right around 43%, which is pretty good for, a guy that was comatose during his presidency. And Barack Obama's approval rating was for the most part around 46%, particularly during the midterms. Now, it is correct to say that Donald Trump's approval rating is the same as, but not higher than, George W. Bush's, because both were at 35%. They've used the same poll; they're both at 35%. But as for Obama and Biden, nope, he's considerably worse off than them. But think of just how stupid a democracy is. You get the majority of people voting for somebody to be president, and within 2 years of the time they voted for them, the disapproval numbers are twice the approval numbers.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point in that?
Oh, well, my view has always been, I would have voted for the person that was going to screw me over the least, number one. But the Biden numbers absolutely show that what Americans want more than anything is for politicians to do nothing. The more that you do nothing, the better off it is for America. It's
the lesser of two evils has always been the thought of many, and I don't buy into it. I'm not
Still evil.
Yeah, pardon?
The lesser of two evils is still evil.
Yeah, there's still a weevil. And so what was the Commander in the Sea or whatever that was, that movie? They wanted to have the lesson of the two weevils, and so there's no such thing as the lesser of two weevils. But the reason that many think that the votes tallied typically take in the midterm and turn Congress against the president that they elected, so that their way of responding to the president they elected that they don't like anymore is putting a Congress against them, is to say, okay, let's have gridlock, because the best thing we can hope for is for you to do nothing, because if anything that you do is going to be doo-doo for us.
Right. I think it's in the name. It's progress is moving forward, regress is moving backwards, Congress is no movement, right? I mean, that's the whole point of Congress, is so that there is no movement. It is supposed to be a chain on government, Is
it like constipation?
Congress,
yes. Yeah. You got regress and progress, and then Congress, so it's like constipation, right?
No stipation whatsoever. Yes.
No, it's a lack of stipation. Okay, there we go.
That's not that's not medical advice, by the way. So
okay. There's Jim Jones. Nice glasses. And I love the priestly robes. The purple priestly robe with Jim Jones.
Yeah.
So he used fake assassination attempts so that his cult would worship him, and as they say, even more. And of course, Donald Trump's had 4 fake assassination attempts. But the most important takeaway here is there's really no difference other than time and ultimate popularity in a cult and a religion. Every religion starts off as a cult and loses the name cult once they become popular enough. You fool enough fools, and you can be promoted from a cult to a religion. But it didn't change the fact that it was conceived as a cult. Christianity is a cult. Islam, absolutely, unequivocally. I mean, Christianity is the cult of Paul. Islam's the cult of Muhammad. Judaism was the cult of Akiba.
Yeah.
They're personality cults. Nazism is the cult of Hitler. Marxism is the cult of Marx. The revolution in China was the cult of Mao Zedong. They're all cults. MAGA is the cult of Trump.
Yeah, it was funny to see the whole Air Force One changeover debacle thing written as a assassination attempt on Trump.
Oh, of course,
right?
Of course.
And it was part of the $100 million bounty on his head, by the Iranians that they was thwarted at the last.
I don't know why they're being so cheap. $100 million. I mean, they're picking up 320 billion plus the taxation on tolls going through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, why be so cheap?
Yeah.
I don't underrate their economy, so I don't know. So this person wanted to say that the only place religion lives is the human brain, and the only place that you can find a God is the human brain. And I would say no, it's really not true. There are no gods in a functioning brain. All religious gods disappear the moment the brain functions. So you'd be wrong in that conclusion. Religious gods exist because no one is thinking, and so there is no religious God in a functional brain.
Got to exercise that neshama if you want it to work.
You've got to, there is absolutely no correlation between faith and thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And all religious gods are man-made constructs, and a thoughtful person can easily deduce that they're fakes. Okay, so here you have that he was executed. So this is another atheist, that Jesus was executed for treason, not to die for anyone's sins. Well, the problem with all that is that there was no Jesus. So if there was no Jesus, he could not have been executed for treason. And the gospel Jesus didn't commit any treasonous act. He never referred to himself as a god. He never called himself the Messiah. He never referred to himself as a king. So the gospel Jesus, who was a myth, never existed, no evidence for him at all, did not commit treason. So that puts Christianity in a really horrible position, because there is no justification for Roman crucifixion of someone who does not claim any authority. He claimed no authority here on earth. He never claimed to be a god. He never claimed to be a king. He never claimed to be the Messiah. And so there was a zero chance that the Romans would have executed him for treason. So since that could not have happened, he did not happen. Now, the truth is that there actually was a Hebrew individual, a Yahud, who was executed for treason because he actually happened to be the Messiah, according to God. He actually happened to be king, and he happened to be in the city that was named in his honor because he founded it, Jerusalem. And so once the Romans came to know who Dode actually was in the appearance in 33 CE, they had no choice but to execute him. Now, they were executing him for treason. His father was putting it up to crucifixion because it was his responsibility to fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim, and that he was the Passover lamb, and it was appropriate for him to fulfill his destiny at this time, in that way, in this place. So there really was a crucifixion. It really was on Passover. It did happen in 33 CE. And the Romans are the ones who crucified him. And they were doing what needed to be done to publicly take the life of the Passover lamb. End of story. The Christianity just renames him, creates a counterfeit.
Oh, a complete counterfeit. It's the lie is more than just a renaming. I mean, everything they stole. Yeah, they stole everything from God and from Dode, but they couldn't keep their story straight. So they, by stealing all of this, they created a scenario where there was no justification for the Romans doing what was actually done to Dode, because their gospel Jesus didn't commit treason. He was not a threat to Rome at all. He did not claim to be king. He wasn't king. He didn't claim to be a god. He wasn't a god. He didn't claim to be the son of God. He wasn't that either. He didn't claim to be the Messiah. Pete, who do they say I am?
Yes. Yeah. And which means that he never told them who he was, which means he never said who he was. Never. And then when allegedly Peter, in front of the cave to Satan, the gate to Satan, says, "You are the Christ," he says, "Say what? Don't you tell anybody that's who I am." And that's the first thing he said. Don't you tell anybody that's who I am, because he wasn't the Christ. So the whole thing, it just, the Christian lie is so badly written. It's just an absolute wonder that there is a single Christian, and there has been a single Christian, and yet there's billions of them. And you can say, what in the world happened to people's ability to think? Oh, yeah, there they are. Satan and the devil's advocate. Thumbs up, baby. Yep. One gone, one to go. But fear not. Donald, just like Lindsey, never going to die. Yeah, no interest in taking their lives because they're going to endure forever in Sheol. So, this being the Christian God, no peace with the enemies of God. And so this is almost Nazified.
Oh, it is. This is
yeah,
this is
essentially a Nazified person that thinks that they're got their automatic weapon and then medieval helmet. That's a nice mix, in their little black suit and their Nazi symbols mixed with Christianity, and that they're going out and killing the enemies of God. Well, I got to tell you that your God ain't God. But your God is can easily be associated with those two colors, red and black. And your God is a killer. Your God happens to be Satan.
This aesthetic is very much, you remember the guy that shot Charlie Kirk, I can't even remember his name now.
Tyler Robinson.
Tyler Robinson was very big into the Helldivers 2, video game community and everything. Yes. This is 100% a Helldivers 2 aesthetic. That helmet is the absolute 100%.
Really? Yep. See, I've never seen the video games like that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a gamers thing that they've just had their pre-trial hearings on Tyler Robinson, and I am the furthest from a conspiratorialist, so I'm not going to speculate as to what the motive may have been or who the actual killer was. But I can tell you for certain that there is no way that a high velocity 30-06 round shot from the angle directly in front of Charlie Kirk could have entered his neck and not passed through it and blown right through that canvas tent behind him. You would have seen the tent move and the bullet. They'd be looking for it somewhere in the concrete behind him, and yet the bullet went down in his upper chest. That is not possible. You can't shoot somebody here going from this angle and have the bullet down here in the chest. Not with a 30-06 round. Not remotely possible. And so the only way that the bullet can be in here and there be an entry wound up there is for the person to have been 90 degrees perpendicular to the way that he was facing, and to shoot a smaller caliber round with less velocity. That's the only way that's possible. And so you can put him up there. I have no argument whether or not he was actually up there. Probably was. Could have been carrying Grandpappy's 30-06, his Mauer. Maybe him fired a shot, but that could not have been the bullet that took out Charlie Kirk. It just, I mean, I've seen way too many ballistic reports on it, and I've owned 30-06 and shot them, and no, and matter of fact, the 30-06 round would have not only exited, it would have blown a very large hole in the back of his neck and head at that point. The exit wound would have been gargantuan. They make rounds now that for war, like the high velocity rounds of the 552, round 223, 552, depending on what you want to call it, that will tumble, and that they're specifically designed because of their velocity to essentially cause tissue to dissolve. And they create a wound that is almost impossible to repair because they've just eviscerate the tissue with their shockwave because of the velocity. But that didn't happen either. So I don't know what they're how they're going to pull this one off, but they've got a really a tough go here. But the issue too is that if it was this kid, Tyler Robinson, then there is no motivation. He was a gamer. Helldivers 2 was his favorite game, but his whole life was sucked up in games. That Lost World. He was an incel, which is an involuntary celibate. He was a groper, the Nick Fuentes gang. Nick Fuentes had it in too for Charlie Kirk. He was saw him as a rival, and so the gropers were anti-Charlie Kirk. But he was just a lost boy in the world of games. He's not a liberal. He's not a conservative. He's just a lost kid, and a lot of them out there. So if that ends up to being who you end up convicting, you've still got a lot of questions and you have no answers.
Yeah, and it would be interesting how much of a defense that the defense wants to put up because essentially what you need is reasonable doubt. And if they can, in open court, give this ballistic evidence, with ballistic experts that, our client was there. Our client did show up that day with the intention, and they don't even have to throw anybody else under the bus.
But it could not have been a bullet that he shot from a 30-06 from that angle. That is the bullet that's found in his body. So there you go. So it's another bullet that killed him. And it's a crime to have the intent to commit murder. But our client didn't have the intent to commit murder. He wanted to scare him. But then you have the text that he allegedly wrote. But the text that he wrote was no more written by a gamer kid that age than a man on the moon. I mean, it was written by somebody that was still living life based back in the 1950s with squad cars and full sentences and the like. So I'm not buying any of it.
Yeah, that trial will show very much whether there's any sort of don't want to use the word conspiracy, but whether there is some sort of cover up that the government may not know.
I don't know. They have to be careful on this kind of stuff because, as an example, it is obvious that Lee Harvey Oswald did not chamber and fire 3 rounds from the rifle that he used that was a piece of crap. That you can't even chamber and fire 3 rounds that quickly. And the gun was not accurate anywhere close to that range. And he had 2 that actually hit the back of a moving target. No, Lee Harvey Oswald did not kill JFK. But we don't know. I mean, the only logical explanation is it was the CIA. But there you have a Warren report, and you have an assassinated assassin, and so it was all a show to placate the public on what was the government taking out its own president.
Well, and the Warren report wasn't a trial either.
No.
I mean, you have a very specific. I mean, a lot of it can fall down to how good of an attorney he gets as well. That they just don't have the money or not a very good attorney. But to put up this sort of defense, but a lot of information can come out in a trial. That
I've studied the American judicial system, and I can tell you that while it was founded on principles that are better than what you would witness elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
The rules against evidence, the procedures, are not to determine right or wrong, innocence or guilt. They really aren't. There are, and juries are exceedingly easy to mislead. And look at the O.J.
Mm-hmm.
Simpson verdict. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't have a more obvious victim and perpetrator, and yet they voted against it. So it is exceedingly easy to mislead people, and the rules that apply to American jurisprudence are handicap finding and knowing the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't hold any hope for that, and I really just don't care. I mean, I just don't care.
At the end, absolutely.
At the end of the day, I
not
do
like
not
I'm
care.
watching this on court TV or anything, you know.
Yeah, I don't care.
So
You know, Graham was supposed to be a burst aorta, which would be in the back of his neck, side of his neck, back of his neck.
Mhm.
I don't want to envision how that would have happened. I don't really care. And whether a gamer killed Charlie Kirk, who I think was a scoundrel, promoting a rapist and pedophile president that is demon possessed on behalf of his mythological man god. Do I care that he's gone? No. And
Right.
do I care that a gamer is held responsible? No. That doesn't matter. And when you get to who else could have wanted to do it, that speculation, of course, leads just to some very odd places. And I don't want to go there either.
Yeah.
I don't care enough about the players. Yeah, this was, I think, the first one that I posted on him when you came to realize that he had died last night. This is the man who caused the war that he blames on another, and I just think that's reprehensible.
Doesn't make any sense at all. You know, he was what?
No,
70?
it does. Well, it does. These guys make fortunes on the military-industrial complex, and they've sold their soul to promote the military-industrial complex, and it's the fact that it's destructive to the United States and the rest of the world is, it's just sad that that's what they have done, but that's what they have done.
I think this is probably the one.
I think this is this is probably the one. We can play a little bit of this.
You obviously launched a fresh round of strikes overnight. Iran said overnight the Strait of Hormuz is closed. CENTCOM came out this morning and said the Strait of Hormuz is open. Which is it, Mr. President, and how are you going to respond?
And I don't want to talk about it because I want to honor the life of Lindsey Graham, so I don't want to talk about it. I told you that before the call.
Yeah.
It's open. We bombed the hell out of them last night. They're very, very evil and sick people. We had meetings with them for the last. They agreed to a deal yesterday, a perfect deal for us. No nuclear, no this, no that, no nothing. They gave up everything. And then after that, they left the room. And then within an hour, they launched a drone at a ship. I said, you people are sick. You're sick people. And so it's one of those things. I don't want to talk about it.
Finally.
All right. So there you go. There you go. It's just. All right. For the 39% of Americans that are still MAGA and support this POS, you're as sick as he is. If you had a moral compass, if you had any morality, any judgment, any capacity to think, you would repudiate him. But it is your support and your continued support of him, your votes for him as Christian patriots, that America and Christianity have elected and continue to empower Satan incarnate. It's a very, very sick situation. And it's going to get so much worse.
Yeah. I put it akin to there should be no Catholics left in the world after the pedophilia in the Catholic Church has come out. That this is precisely the same. There should be no MAGAs left because it is absolutely reprehensible and not just idiotic what this guy has done.
Well, and for him to claim that we had another deal. No, the Iranians are not negotiating with America. There was no other deal. And no, the Iranians didn't give up on anything, much less everything. I mean, it's an absolute, utter lie. And yet he is violating the agreement that he signed by trying to obfuscate the agreed Iranian control of the Straits. Read the memorandum of understanding. The Iranians control the Straits, and they only open it up to shipping under their terms when America has released their funds, and America hasn't released all of their funds, and America is trying to circumvent the terms that they agreed to. And so it's America that breached the ceasefire, and the Iranians know there is no purpose in dealing with Satan. You don't and publicly disclose $100 million death warrant on the man that you made a deal with that you capitulate to, particularly when the theme throughout the funeral was do not sign an agreement with this man. Vengeance. Hold him accountable. So no, there is a zero possibility that of what he's saying is true. He is a classical political liar, but in his case, he's demon possessed. He is Satan.
I don't know what that one was. That got taken down, I guess.
Yeah, this is again vivid when he says, Lindsey Graham, I'm unapologetically supportive of Israel. If you support Israel. When your friend is the devil, you're doing something dreadfully wrong. Vivid, stop it. You're just wrong. You're wrong about everything. You're doing Israel a tremendous disservice by promoting those that are assuring the demise of the Jewish state. What part of on the upright of the door frame and over the lintel did they get wrong here? With look how much blood they got.
Just
oh, and it, just a sprinkle, just a little dab will do you. Just a little dab. The Malak are not blind, really, they're not. And it wasn't to paint the damn door in blood.
Yeah.
And they want to, of course, make this about their Jesus, but you got a problem with that. He wasn't the Passover lamb. The Passover lamb doesn't come back to life. He never claimed to be the Passover lamb. The religion doesn't claim him to be the Passover lamb. There's no association with Passover. You blew it. And you've got no idea who really was the Passover lamb, and that he really was the Messiah, really was the Son of God, really was the chosen one, and actually was king. And that's no David. It's the greatest scam in all of human history. And there you got the moon trying to illuminate the lie so that people might know it. But it's very clever that he's got his little lantern there, even though the moon is serving.
Full moon, yeah.
Yeah, but the problem with the full moon, it would have been a full moon that night because it was Passover. But in the Twistian of counting, you had a solar eclipse.
Little eclipse.
Yeah, you can't have a solar eclipse and a full moon.
They're on the wrong. they're on the wrong side.
Geometry just doesn't work. I'm sorry there about, well, maybe God just spun them around just for fun.
Right. Just very important today. So
just for giggles, just for giggles.
Right.
No, just one of billions of lies in a book that's atrocious. So easy.
It does.
But I do like all the little lights in the background. They were. When this first was celebrated, they were in Goshen. There were no little lights all over the place. They were slaves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it reminds me that the instruction is for you to put it on your doorways, right? I had folks that wanted to come out to my farm and do Passover right one year and wanted to, kill a lamb. And I'm like, if you want to do that, fine. I'm not having any, but you want to start smearing lamb's blood all over my doorways? I said, no, we're not doing any of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I will take a little of the red wine, because by the time we get the lamb, it doesn't have any blood in it. And so the red wine is symbolic, and I'll sprinkle some on the uprights and the lintel, just because it's a symbolic way of saying I understand the nature of this story. But I can tell you one thing: Passover does not save. So it has the power to save you. No, it doesn't. Passover won't save you from anything except death. but as Lindsey Graham just found out, death can be considered a very good thing unless you have benefited from matzah. And because Twistians and Jews have no clue what matzah is the thing that saves you from your own religious guilt. And without matzah, eternal life is a very bad thing, because it'll put you in hell. But Passover doesn't save you. There's no salvation provided by Passover. It's the doorway to life. It is matzah that separates a soul from their religious guilt. And if you want to call that salvation, fine. But that is, it's just total separation, the removal of religious guilt. Religious guilt is taken off the shield and deposited there, never to be seen again. And so they've got the wrong event. If you want to talk about salvation, you've got to talk about matzah. And there's no blood on matzah.
Yeah, it is chag matzah. It is not chag Pesach. Right. Pesach's a day.
And Pesach is just the first day of matzah, of chag matzah. It's religious just have butchered this story. It's such a beautiful, simple, lovely, consistent story. And between Judaism and Christianity, they have completely butchered the story. And as a result, there's not a single religious Jew or Christian that has ever been saved. Not one. Overthinking will kill your peace. Thinking will kill your faith. That is for damn sure. There is no correlation between faith and thinking. Faith is the result of not thinking. This is akin to the Qurans. Don't question the Quran, because if you do, you'll lose your faith. Faith exists for people who don't think.
Well, and this pervades the Eastern religions as well. With the how you reach nirvana is by setting and doing nothing and thinking nothing. That is how you get to their heaven, their nirvana, is to stop thinking.
Yeah, this is pray and leave it to God. Does God ever once instruct anyone to pray? Nope. Does God ever once say, you just leave it to me, you don't do anything?
No.
No. So both parts of that will lead to your death. And both parts of that will assure that your death will bring no peace. Now, there was no, by the way, Peter, the brother of Dode. They had three that whose names are picked up in the Christian New Testament: Shimon, Yahuchanan, and Jacob, that we know of because Paul wasn't creative; he just counterfeited things. And Shimon was never the rock, and he didn't write letters. These are all after the fact things that were penned and the name that became famous in front of the gates of Pan, the gates of hell, when you had the conversation that never occurred that was written by Eusebius in the 4th century, that who do you say I am, that you mentioned earlier. That whole conversation was written in a narrative in the 4th century by Eusebius, didn't appear anywhere prior to that time, and it's ludicrous. It is about the most fun thing to poke holes in, because it is senseless from beginning to end.
Oh, you've got several episode on it in the Twistianity series.
I do, and there's nothing I enjoy more than eviscerating that claim, because it's essential to Christianity, and it is absolutely ludicrous. It is completely untrue. Hey, there's the CopperCon man, Orange Man. That's back with the full-on orange makeup. And so anyway, this guy has this whole list of things that of Donald Trump, that he raped a 13-year-old girl, that he was convicted of rape of a woman, and it just goes on down on all the crimes of Donald Trump. And my view is that that's the least of them. I mean, orange makeup is, when you're using a Fritos to put on your makeup, that's probably a bad thing. But he had to do that because, well, there's a prophecy that calls him the CopperCon. So he's got to be that color. But no, you want to know what's wrong with Donald Trump? He was a psychopath and egomaniacal narcissist that is now demon possessed and managed and controlled by Satan. That's a fairly serious issue. Something you can't hide by makeup by Frito-Lay. Yeah, it was the jackass thing when Trump responded by reading that piece of paper in his right hand. That's Lindsey Graham's phone number, and that's how vicious Trump is. That's why Lindsey Graham, you could see it in his face. So even when he was saying it, he was scared to death of the repercussions. Donald Trump is the Hannibal Lecter of politicians. He has almost everyone cowered because they're just afraid of him. And they're afraid of him because no one has ever been that vile or vicious.
Yeah, that's Machiavellian, right? I mean, you're just so
be the worst
vicious
terrorist, be the baddest and the worst of all the terrorists, and you will terrify everyone into submission. Well, not everyone. So he says, the man who despises public worship, and forsakes the assembly of God's people, I don't know who God's people are, but I think he thinks they're the church as opposed to Israel, has no right to expect much growth in grace. Does Ryle not know that the gratia and the charities, were these naked little girls that were part of the pagan religions of the Romans and of the Greeks? I mean, is he saying that if you don't worship, then those poor little girls are never going to grow up and they're never going to get any clothes? Is that the message here? Because, the poor charities, the graces, they've been naked and young for a very, very long time. And somebody ought to care enough for the pagan goddesses to, let them grow up, get them some clothes. So I guess what you need to do is public worship. And the graces will finally get clothed.
I don't know if that's how that works or not. I was seeing more of we need more naked little girls in public, but is
that what he's trying to do? Is trying to promote that? I don't know. The growth of the graces? I don't know. Popularity? You want the popularity of the graces? I mean, the graces are pagan goddesses. They're the pagan goddesses of merriment and of sexual licentiousness. It was really odd that Paul would choose them to base his religion, but he did. And It's amazing the religion survived it.
Mm-hmm. They went a long way to make church out of that, didn't they?
Oh my. Yeah. Boy, this is an interesting version of what people would know as an ark. It's a teba, but I can assure you that is not what it looked like. But it says here, thou shalt not kill, but he loves you. No, first of all, the line actually says don't make a habit of killing, and God does not love you. And there were not crying babies, like the picture of little crying babies. No crying babies. The whole thing is just so enormously stupid. Such a powerful lesson is presented in the account of Noah and who he was and what God did with him to salvage the Solomon. Without Noah, no one lived. The whole planet would have been gone. God would have ended the whole human experiment and said, nah, it's just not worth it. He was disappointed. We were a-holes. We were merciless. In fact, he's talked about how the Nephilim preyed upon women, abused women. They were chamos. They were terrorists. And he was disgusted. He just says the more of them there are, the worse they become. There is no solution here because the more of them there are, the worse they become. They are evil every moment of every day and every thought and every inclination. Humans are despicable. And he just wanted to end the whole thing. And the only reason that there are humans today is Noah intervened and said, let's reboot the system. Let's give it a chance. And Noah rebooted the system. So rather than a celebration of the death of people, it was a celebration of life, that the life on the planet would go on because of what Noah did. It was an act of love. It's akin to somebody buying a deserted house, finding that it was filled with vipers and plague-infested rats. And brown recluse spiders, and saying, what the heck, let's just go ahead and move in. I'll take my children in and it'll be just fine. God's saying, no, it won't be fine. And sometimes you have to clear away that which is evil to give that which is good a chance to survive. It's why I've said, and God says routinely, that until you know what and how and when to hate, you're incapable of loving. There is no way to protect the innocent from the guilty so long as you allow the guilty to have full access to prey upon the innocent. It's a marvelously important story. It's a story for adults that are open-minded and rational, informed and rational individuals. It's just a crying shame that idiots like this screw it up and append. And again, this is the onslaught of the atheists, and they're right in impugning religion. They are wrong in impugning God. And they can get their wish, which is to die separated from God, by just keeping their opinions to themselves. But when you start besmirching God in this way, then you don't have that luxury anymore. You've crossed a line, and you won't be among those who has the right to die. You will never die.
I'm just offended. I find the whole picture offensive. There is not one square line on that teba. Who builds a teba that poorly?
Yeah, I know.
There
really,
it's
really look at all of that. Oh yeah, and see, you have on the port side, which is the left side of our screen, you have a partial additional deck that just got sandwiched in between. And if you look on the port side, the right side from us, you can see that there's a pinching of the lower deck. You can see that the upper decks are misaligned 20 degrees with the bow. And it's just everything that could go wrong. And then you, rather than the animals in stalls, which is what it was described, and the whole thing enclosed, you've got the animals are all around the surrounding. So
It's got its own promenade deck, though.
but it does have a promenade deck. So that's very nice. And I'm looking forward one day to having a vessel of some sort. I came here on captain my own yacht named Cara, and I'm looking forward to being retired. And in fact, in the 10th chapter of Isaiah, it's pretty clear that that the role that I'm playing, I get her done. I finish the job, which tells me you finish the job, you get a vacation, right? I mean, that goes hand in hand, right? So that's what I'm counting on. And if you're going to have a vacation, we're going to be here for 1,000 years. I'm sure we'll be on call and doing stuff. I figured that we're better to add to the Yahowah vlog and to write books and add to the library than have a nice boat someplace off some beautiful tropical island, because that's kind of what I like. And I want to have that kind of a top deck, except I don't want to have elephants on it. But I'd love to have the top deck that is just a garden, water features and lawns and flower beds and plumerias and lovely trees. So I think an open top deck sort of appeals to me.
We'll have plenty of time to build it.
But no elephants on it.
No elephants. Yeah.
No.
No special platypus. No reinvented platypus.
It's an atrium. Okay. I don't have any problem with some peacocks and some cockatoos, and I'm going to have a tuki bird for sure. Yes, the toucan from George of the Jungle. I loved his tuki bird. So part of it seems to make some sense. Not much of it. No screaming babies. That's for damn sure.
No screaming babies.
No screaming babies. The Israeli Air Force just carried out airstrikes against Hamas in Gaza today. I saw that, and there's a lot of kaboom here. This is another vivid portrayal, destroying Israel. It's hard to imagine that you could be so out of touch with reality that you think that the ongoing destruction of Gaza is good for Israel. It's turned the entire world against Israel. It's caused Israel to be accused of apartheid and genocide and colonialization and all manner of horrific things because Gaza has been destroyed. And I looked it up to say, all right, is Vivid playing the role of a keyboard jihadist, or did Israel bomb Gaza again? And in the last week, Israel has led a number of raids of Gaza, and since the Trump ceasefire, how Trump, one of the 8 wars that Trump solved was the war between Israel and Hamas. Israel has killed 1,100 Gazans. Since the ceasefire. It's a ceasefire as defined by Israel and America, which means you continue to bomb, you just don't bomb quite as often. Unless you're Trump, and then you do it whenever you want to.
They are defensive airstrikes, right?
They're defensive airstrikes, yeah. They're defensive.
Right. So if they've killed 1,100 Hamas, that means that there are now, by my calculations, 3,000 more Hamas in Gaza than there would before. Is that generally how it works?
That's typically how it works. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's the whole idea that you're going to bomb your way to a Hamas-free Gaza is insane. It has never happened. It will never happen. You cannot use bullets and bombs to rid the world of a religious foe. Bullets and bombs, fists and knives, make more of them, not less of them. And particularly in Islam, where the religion's only worthy act is to die killing for Allah. So, no, you have no chance. There were so many proper responses to the atrocities of 10/7. like beginning to say this is a repeat of what all Muslims know. It was against a morning attack on a farming community, just like the Muslims with Muhammad and Kabar. And Muslims all know it, but nobody in Israel can bother to say it, that it was Alaska flood, and therefore Alaska needs to have been demolished on top of the Temple Mount because it was the motivation. But they can't do that, that they can't even show credible evidence of what occurred on 10/7 so they could garner some sympathy from the world. No. And then they go off and bomb Gaza into oblivion and end up with just as many Hamas as were there previously. Have they killed many of the Muslims who perpetrated 10/7? Yes. Did they deserve to die? Absolutely. But is killing them worth destroying the Israeli state? No, it was not. It was just foolish. And by continuing to promote this stuff, Vivid, rather than supporting Israel, you're destroying Israel.
Yeah. Do you think you're going to go back into Yahowah 11 for luminaries today, or are you going to start back over with the Bereshith? I think we were like at 9.
Oh no, we're going to go back
13
to going to go back to Bereshith on it and work our way through. And we're considerable time from me dealing with Yahowah 9, but Yahowah 9 when I'm writing it right now for Coming Home Volume 4. It's halfway through the Coming Home Volume 4 that I had previously made the entree into the Towrah presentation based upon the last line of Yahowah 10. And when Yahowah 11 on the Towrah became so dynamic and just so gut-wrenching, so prophetic of then and now, I just felt this strong urge to that it was being set up in Yahowah 10, and I hadn't dealt with Yahowah 10 in terms of the translations since I wrote the first volume of Observations. And the first volume of Observations were written, 15 to 17 years ago, maybe 18 years ago, a long, long time ago. So, we knew a fraction of 1% then that we know now. And so as I go through Yahowah 10 with what we have learned, it's a much different read than it was previously. And it's turned out to be, I think, more revealing, more prophetic of the situation we're in right now today, more explanatory of who this Towrah is and what God's going to do with him, and the fact that he is up against Rahab, who is Asher in this story. He is presented as Asher, and that it's a mano-a-mano fight between these two, and actually a spiritual battle between the two of them, and it presents that as well. It is an exceedingly vivid depiction of what we're up against right now and what we'll be up against in the next 7 years. And so I'm 2 full days into it now, but this is not like a chapter in Ruth. What I wrote for that was a much easier translation and explanation than anything you'll find in Yahowah. Yahowah makes you work for
he
it.
always brings his A game for it. Yes,
he brings your A game. He's got an extraordinary vocabulary. He wields words wisely, and he is the clever one in terms of the way that he presents clues in such a way that he knows that no one will figure it out until it's time to figure it out, and then that absolutely we would figure it out. And so it's written very cleverly, and therefore it takes time. So it'll be my my hobby here for the probably a little over a week more time to get her done, but it's worth it. It's really a treasure. So that's where we stand. Thank you for doing this program. Thank you, Rich, for being the man in the circle. There he is, our Rich again. And we'll try to sneak in a luminary sometime later today. Thank you, Kevin. Good day.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.